Terry Lynn, and the Traveling Artista is at it again. Today, I want to do a couple of quick demos utilizing the concept that I use in my Hone the Hues workshops. This deals with retinal persistence. Now, we're all used to using that primary triadic color wheel. This is the classic color wheel. We're all pretty familiar with that. But we want to take a step away and make things a little more interesting. And I deal with that. It's a takeoff from the Munsell color wheel, which is used basically for print. And it also deals with retinal persistence. So this is what I call the optical complements. When you stare at one color long enough and your retina kind of burns out from that color, then you look over to something white, you will see a residual image of the optical complement, the exact opposite. This can make our colors more exciting. It's like adding spice, a secret spice into some recipe dish, and it gets so wonderful. So again, if you want to look into that workshop, check my website, and I have them listed there under events, but also just kind of watch along. I'm starting with this very basic sketch that I did in my sketchbook. I will give you a picture of it by putting a mat around it because some people have trouble isolating the image, and I want to be able to isolate that for you. For myself, it's okay. I can just pull this out. This is a very simple image, and it's something that I can use quickly to employ the colors that I've chosen. I have already chosen the colors. I have two color combinations right now, and we're going to go through a couple demonstrations. This is just an acid-free board that I had. I put a very simple amount of pumice gel on the surface to give it a little tooth. I may do a quick underpainting with my pan pastels to give it a tone instead of working directly just on white. So if you have any questions or comments, please do that at the bottom or email me, probably the best way, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Meanwhile, I hope you get some good ideas from this to take away for your own artwork, and enjoy it.
I think the best place to get inspiration for painting is outside. To do plein air painting, it's just immediate and it keeps that excitement coming. I love it. But when I can't do that, I have plenty of resources in my sketchbooks. Here is that little sketch I did, isolated with a mat so you can see it better. And it's only black and white and gray. So with these tonal values, I can build up my own color schemes instead of being influenced by what I see in front of me when I'm actually on location. For my first sketch, I am laying down a tone in the background of kind of a magenta with my pan pastels. Here is my full available palette. I keep a lot more in storage and pull them out as I need them. First step is to choose the colors that I want. This is the color scheme I have chosen. Based loosely on the Munsell color wheel, I started with the fuchsia and went with triadic colors from there, the cyan, and then a little hint of that yellow orange. Here I start to lay in some of my idea for the composition, where I want those two major trees to be that are the center. I have started with some of my darkest colors. This case it's that deep dark magenta, which many people would consider close to Terry Ludwig's eggplant. But this stick is one I actually created myself. I'm staying in that purplish family in the magentas, laying in some of the background softly. Just play around with it, people. Vary the strokes. You have so much to consider at this point. You have tone, you have hue, that's the color, you have perspective, and aerial perspective where things get softer and more bluish in the background because of all the atmosphere between where you are and those distant trees. In reality, the distant trees have the same amount of color and contrast as the trees close to you, but because of the moisture in the air, it refracts the light and it makes those backgrounds seem further and softer and less contrasty, and usually slightly more blue, because blue light waves travel further than the others. I'm considering shape. I'm varying my strokes. Sometimes it's the side of the pastel for large areas. Sometimes I tip it up on the edge so that it's getting more line, and other times it's using the tip of it to create finer lines. Thinking a little bit of the main objects, but also that space in between, what we often call negative space. It's not actually space, it is just an area created abstractly by the main objects overlaying it. But those shapes need to be interesting as well. Here I start laying in that more split of the green as opposed to the cyan. Trying to consider shadow areas, highlighted areas, always in the direction of the branches of the trees. The branches grow out and down. The tips of the trees, the branches reach up to the sun. So you want to keep that in mind. You don't want trees having branches going straight across all the time. You need to study each type of tree. And this is basically a fir tree. So I studied it, I sketch it, I try to maintain faithfulness to that particular type of tree. Moving all around the painting. Don't just finish one area like you're doing a puzzle, because every little area relates to every other area of the painting, and they need to stay tied together. Your darks tied together, creating an interesting shape. Your midtones and certain colors, if you pulled them out individually, that they would create an interesting shape on their own. And the same with the lights. Back and forth, back and forth. We're mixing it up. We're making it luscious. We're playing with color. That light magenta that I just put on there is another one of my own personal created pastels. Sometimes you get colors that you can't find in many of the collections. So don't be afraid. Go check out my video that tells you how to make pastel sticks from old pastel dust. Don't just throw that dust out. Use it. You have whole new sticks of amazing new colors. You can see here where that greenish blue is being warmer, so it's advancing, it's coming toward us more than that soft other blue that's pushed toward the background. I do have to admit this day that I had a little preoccupation with a situation I found out before I started the video, but painting helps heal and helps us to momentarily escape. I always have in my other hand a rag, and as I use my pastels, I wipe them off, especially if you have a lighter pastel and you're dragging the color down into a dark area. You need to wipe off that light pastel before you put it on another light area of the painting. So here's the first sketch. You can see a little bit of that orange yellow in there and the orange, just enough to add a touch of spice to the painting. Some fir branches in the direction of how the branches would hang down from the tree, a softening in the background to indicate fogginess or trees that are further away. Back to the black and white sketch for new inspiration, and we're going to choose different colors this time. Here I started with a yellow and a yellow-green. I built off from that with the blue-purple, and then the little hint of spice in this particular one is kind of an orange-red. So here's hoping that these colors, and they look pretty good in this little tiny palette that I put aside. I always take from my large palette and add to a small palette. This way the limited colors keep me on track. Again, I start with a basic sketch. In this painting, I picked up the vine charcoal and I was laying it in with that. The paper that I created, which I told you about earlier, has a very uneven texture to it. So for something like a landscape, an uneven texture can work really nicely and proffer you some interesting and unexpected textures. If you're doing other things, you might want to have a smoother paper, but I kind of like it for this one. So I'm starting with that yellow that I decided was my main color. I didn't do an underpainting here with the pan pastels. I think I just got busy working on the videos and everything. So here I just jumped right in. I'm going to have that light shine through from the white paper. If you notice to the left of my paper, I have a little strip of white. That helps my camera to automatically color balance as I'm going along. So I have the black and the white, and that will balance out for my painting. Because if you start with just light, then the camera totally color balances to a pure white, and things end up getting darker than you expect. So these are little things that you can consider. It's like if you're outside painting and you have a piece of white paper and the sun's out, everything's so bright that your eyes get washed out from too much light, and you take it inside and it's like, it's dark. It's like, how did that happen? Because our eyes and our minds automatically adjust to what the painting is in relationship at that time. And the camera tries to do a very similar thing. So, best to have a little black and white right beside your painting if you are photographing it, whether you're doing a video or a still photo. All right, got some of those nice blue purples in there, the lighter ones in the background to indicate that those trees on the hill are going back in the distance. Remember we talked about aerial or atmospheric perspective, pushing those back. I'm going to add in, this color is actually, it looks kind of brownish green, but it's actually the shade or the darker tint of the yellow. It helps to neutralize that blue and push it back a little bit more. Now I'm coming in with my yellow-green to help define some of the branches of the trees that are close up. You don't have to worry about the details in the background. You want those to fade back. Our eye does not focus on everything at once like a high-definition photograph. Our eye will pick and choose what it's focusing on. And if you really stop to think about it while you're looking at something, try to perceive what other things are. They're all kind of out of focus, and you want to bring that into a painting as well. There's no time that we, in reality, look at something and all things are in focus at the same time. So the artist can focus or maneuver the viewer's sight by so many elements: composition, contrast, detail, on and on and on. There's so many aspects to this. Keep studying, keep learning, watch other people paint, ask questions, get involved, and experiment for yourself. Play around with it. All right, this is a very light of that blue-purple, and I'm bringing it over the yellow to somewhat neutralize the sky. I'm playing. Do you play? It's important to play. Just keep trying it out. If it doesn't come out, oh well. It's a piece of paper, some dust. You can brush it off. You can start again. You can, brushing off is kind of hard, but you can take some alcohol and blend it in there and use the paper over. A lot of these papers are good. There are a few pastel papers that you cannot wet. So research that, make sure you're all set there. But most of them, this didn't come out. Get a little brush with alcohol on there, wash it around, or mineral spirits, and let it dry, and you can use the paper again. Here's some details of that second sketch. See how that little bit of orange-red just kind of spices it up? At first, it's not really noticeable because it's more unconscious what we're seeing with that. Anyway, fun, textures, kind of looks like trees, doesn't have to be perfect. Here are the two paintings side by side, the same black and white sketch from my sketchbook, and two different color schemes. And here you can see how color makes a huge effect of the ambiance, the feeling, the emotions that someone perceives when they are looking at the painting. The top painting could be a warm, sunny day that is shining on the snow, you know, that early springtime effect. And the bottom one is probably a gray, misty day, but through the clouds, a hint of the sunset is trying to poke through and tints everything magenta.
Well, and voila, there it is. They don't always come out like masterpieces. Sometimes they come out absolutely beautiful. But the important thing, again, is to just do it. Just keep painting, experimenting, expanding your horizons. Try something new. I'm going to do this a few more times. The paper gave me a little bit of problem. That's because I experimented with the paper too. But I am learning so much and it's so exciting. So take a simple sketch, plan out some color schemes, try to stick to them. Sometimes they work better than others. Anyway, that is kind of a concept. And I'm also doing this to try out my new equipment. So thank you for being here with me, and I hope you got a little tidbit of something out of this video. You have a great day and stay dusty, my friends.
Hope you get a chance to look at some of my other videos. I'm always learning, things are always improving. I'm considering redoing some of my earlier videos that I feel are vital informational videos. Meanwhile, please subscribe, then go to my website and sign up for my newsletter to keep in touch. Thank you.